Great. Well, one of the things that I would love is to have everybody kind of I'll introduce myself, but have everybody introduce themselves. And maybe Maureen, since as you'll see throughout, one of my deficits is eyesight, so I can't even see the little name. So why don't I say just something briefly about myself, and then Maureen, you can kind of run through about each person. I mean, you can kind of announce each person, and then you could introduce yourself. So that way it's more of a conversation. So I am Michael Griffin, and I have a long connection to Holy Cross education. Way back in the day after college, I actually spent 4 years teaching at Bishop McNamara High School in Forestville, Maryland. Then I spent some time as a member of the Congregation of Holy Cross as a holy seminarian. Brother Larry remembers those days. I was just the model of prayer and docility, and it was beautiful. But I decided, while I was still in temporary vows, I decided to leave because I was thinking, I want to work with Holy Cross, but probably as a married person. And so I did that. I also wanted to mention, and I'm sort of dedicating this little session to a couple of people. I married into a Holy Cross family. So my wife, Catherine, is the daughter of Gregory and Patricia Garrett. And Patricia Martin is the twin sister of Brother Peter Martin. And Brother Peter Martin, as Brother Larry knows, long time Holy Cross brother, died a few years ago, or a couple of years ago. And Brother Peter, a great Holy Cross brother, great Holy Cross religious, big personality, great guy. And so he married into that family, and I began working at Holy Cross College. Then did my Ph.D. at Notre Dame while working there, and I've been at Holy Cross for 17 years. In 2017, when Father David Tyson became our president, he asked me to join the administration. So I'm now in the role of senior vice president and helping in a number of different areas at the college: enrollment, academics. As you see from my Zoom background, I am a devoted evangelist of the Tri-Campus. So I've been able to be involved in a lot of our collaborations with Notre Dame and St. Mary's, which have been really great and helped to accentuate the Holy Crossness of the education we offer at Holy Cross College. And so I began that role in 2017. The other person to whom I dedicate this time and think of is Brother Peter's niece. My wife Catherine died last year after a 3-year battle with cholangiocarcinoma, a very, very, very awful form of bile duct cancer. And Catherine and I have 3 kiddos, Benedict and Basil. Yes, I named a child for Basil Moreau, born on his feast day. And then our 3-year-old Spitfire Miriam Mimi Griffin. So, but I think Catherine grew up with a Holy Cross brother and was educated by the brothers, as was I. And now this is, as they say, this is my life. So I'll share a little bit about what my session's about and make it a conversation. But Maureen, take it away and have. Maybe if you just share your school, kind of like what part of the Holy Cross mission you're really kind of working on right now.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Mike. All right. So my name is Maureen. I am the moderator for the session, as I mentioned, and I am a project specialist at Holy Cross College. I work directly under Dr. Griffin on special projects, which include admissions and tri-campus partnerships with Notre Dame, as well as grant writing for the college. I am really passionate about the Congregation of Holy Cross and their mission across Holy Cross institutions broadly, starting with my undergrad education at Notre Dame. A few years ago, I graduated with a degree in theology there. And I had the privilege of working at a Holy Cross High School in Uganda, where Father Prosper, who has joined us and will introduce himself shortly, is an administrator. And I taught English and religion at Holy Cross Lakeview for almost 1 year before the pandemic. My time in Uganda really was so instructive and formative for me about the broader mission of Holy Cross as a congregation. And I'm very passionate about their mission for holistic education, especially for underserved populations. And the intercultural aspect, the international and intercultural aspect of Holy Cross is something that's really important to me. So I'm excited to hear what Dr. Griffin has to share with us on the subject. So that's a bit about me, and I'll pass it over to who appears on my right, Margaret, who seems to be joining us from King's College. Could you introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah, it's so nice to see you all. This is such a treat. So I am the Director of Study Abroad at King's College. I've been here about 6 years. We moved here from the Villanova area. My husband is the Director of the Ethics Center here. And Mike Griffin, we used to work together on a project with Catholic Relief Services. I helped start their, and found and run their project to create virtual learning spaces that would connect students at American universities, particularly Catholic universities, with the field and the sort of policies and practices and life on the ground for CRS in sort of an umbrella of solidarity and Catholic social teaching. So it turns out that virtual learning is sort of a thing now. So I am the Director of Study Abroad, where we have these great faculty-led programs where we take students overseas, and I've actually been itching to do like more creative things with that. And so, silver lining, we've been doing a little bit more virtual learning and COIL and other things. We have a faculty-led program to Uganda, and I was just speaking with Margarita Rose earlier, who you may have met.
Yes, I do know Margarita.
And she, even in her class, I helped her design this like module over this term where we have a speaker from CRS coming on protection, and she's connecting with Holy Cross Lakeview students virtually with her students. And so we're trying to do these creative things. So that community is in our hearts as well. Did I just connect out?
You're good.
We have a lot to cover, so maybe I'll stop there. I grew up in a family that loved Notre Dame for various reasons. I didn't go, and now I work at a Holy Cross school. So we actually, another thing I want to mention is that in the pandemic, we started a little committee at King's. King's is really small, so you can just do things. And we have a new president, Father Looney, coming in. Who's really supportive of diversity, equity, and inclusion work. So we've been trying to translate our global learning outcomes into domestic activities. And so we're going to try and start a diversity, equity, inclusion committee and sort of work across the college and be more creative in that way. So that's something that I'm involved in. And connecting with other Holy Cross schools in that light and like bringing resources and sharing resources would be awesome, because we love to get a little bit of the Holy Cross.
I'm making note of it. Thank you. Margaret.
Thanks, Margaret.
I'm so sorry, Michael, and your loss. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Let's move to Lindsay Tosher. Can you tell us how you're connected to Holy Cross?
For sure. So as evidenced by my excitement in seeing Brother Larry, I work at St. Edward's University here in Austin, but I am also an undergraduate alum of many moons ago. My undergrad psych degree is from St. Ed's, and I didn't know about Holy Cross until I was recruited by Donna Gutierrez in the late 80s. And so that is where my Holy Cross journey began. And I've been on staff at St. Ed since 2000. I've worked with undergraduate population until last July, when we had some layoffs and reorg because of COVID, and now work primarily with graduate students advising. But I know the study abroad world, having supported students in that, realm, and being at St. Ed's for so long, was very aware of the Uganda connection through Sarah Medina Pape and Frank Krafka and others. So it's nice to hear these bits and pieces of my Holy Cross life here on the Hilltop over these last couple of decades. I'm also a parishioner at St. Ignatius Martyr. Just around the corner from St. Ed's, and my husband and I have been very active parishioners there, and fairly close with now Bishop Bill which is bizarre but great. And you know, the ongoing clergy there, I almost said faculty, clergy at that period. So that's who I am and what I do and how I am connected to Holy Cross. And I am so excited to have access to all of this today and tomorrow, especially with the keynote. My daughters, who are 13 and 17, have grown up on this campus. And it's always, just as many of you know who have families, an amazing gift to be able to share higher education with your kids from the womb until they're getting ready. My junior is now looking at colleges, so I'm writing down the names of all these schools for, you know, tuition exchange. So it's great to see you all and hear people's stories. So thank you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Great. Brother Larry, we can go to you next.
All right, I can talk. I am Brother Larry Atkinson, and I recently retired from St. Ed's after 20 years. I came here in 1994 and worked as director of candidates for the brothers' provinces, and then left for 6 years, went to Stonehill College and did vocation work. And then as soon as that was finished, returned to St. Ed's and worked the last 11 years in campus ministry, which was a wonderful opportunity to share the Holy Cross story with the rest of the faculty, staff, and particularly with the students. So my last 11 years, part of my portfolio, as it were, was to speak about Holy Cross and the mission of St. Edward's University and how they work well together. So I've become increasingly more informed about Holy Cross. Other than having lived it, it's nice to have the vocabulary to speak about it. And so I enjoy the connection between Holy Cross schools. I'm thrilled at the opportunity that we have over 100 students from our Holy Cross high schools around the world here. And I always love associating with colleagues at King's College and Stonehill and Notre Dame and University of Holy Cross, St. Mary's. And I've been to all of those places for meetings, whether it's formation or Holy Cross. So I'm imbued with that, and even though I'm retired, I'm still relatively active at St. Ed's, mostly virtually, so I don't get to see Lindsay as much as we used to cross paths a lot. But I have been doing some presentations both for the Convocation and for Holy Cross. So nice to meet you all.
Thank you, brother. Very good. We can go to our next vowed CSC and my friend, Father Prosper. Please share yourself and a bit of where you're zooming in from today.
Maureen, I'm happy to see you and all the members on this platform. My name is Prosper Abase, and I'm a Holy Cross priest working and ministering at Holy Cross Lakeview Senior Secondary School in Jinja, Uganda, where Maureen was talking about, where she stayed with us, but Maureen, we still expect you to come back to Uganda. So I've been at Holy Cross Lakeview since 2016. First, I joined us in the finance office, later to the deputy principal of the school in the administration. And I can proudly say I am happy being part of the Holy Cross team that is trying to educate the mind and the heart, to bring people the work of resurrection. And that's basically, I can say that's home I am right now.
Thank you, Father. Special props to you for calling in at a late evening hour, because it is 11:15 in Uganda, for those of you who don't know. So thanks for staying up on a Friday night for us, Father. Okay. Anne,
Strickers.
Yes.
Wow, blast from the past.
So hi, everybody. It's Strickers calling in from Mountain View, California. I'm at St. Francis High School. I'm Assistant Athletic Director for Mission and Formation, and I teach in the Theology Department. I coach our girls golf team. And I've known Michael since he was a senior my freshman year. Spent some time in Farley Hall.
I know, I can't believe it.
Michael and I have many, like, and then he was in the seminary, and I had some friends in his class, and yeah, so it's really a joy
Wow,
to see
it's
you.
so good to see you.
Likewise, good to be seen. So, what a treat to be here. I gave a session earlier today on mission of Holy Cross education through athletics. So excited to hear a little more. So hi everybody, great to meet
Ann.
everybody.
Thanks. Claudia, we can go to you next.
Hi, everybody. My name is Claudia Alvarez. I am the Director of Campus Ministry at Notre Dame High School in Sherman Oaks. I'm very new, so I'm listening to all of you and I'm like, I don't have much to share other than this is my third year now at Notre Dame. I do believe that I just came from a session that talked about, you know, how we came to Holy Cross. And I definitely believe it continues to be divine providence on so many levels. Literally, as they were talking about the words that Moreau says to Mother Mary, that you are for Holy Cross, I wrote that down. I was like, oh, this sounds like a really cool thing to do for our next, as I have to help do I planned the faculty retreat. And I was like, oh, that would be a really cool theme to just give to our faculty. And then literally the moment I had finished writing it down, my supervisor, who's our VP of student activities, and he's like, call me, I need to talk to you. So I had to pause the workshop, and then I take the phone call because I'm like, I don't know if this is serious or not. And then he says, hi, we need to talk about faculty retreat. And I just was like, stop. So I just think like how the Spirit moves, you know, I just been finding it so amazing as I've been ministering to our students, to our faculty, and my goal and my vision is to minister to our parents as well. So I'm very excited to learn more about Holy Cross and just how, I guess my biggest thing, and I don't know if this conversation would lead to it, but I'm hoping to find out how do I bring in even those, because I know it starts off, this title is Catholic, right? But we are ministering to students more and more in our Catholic schools and our high schools who are not Catholic. So how do we bring in that joy of the gospel to our non-Catholic students when I hear that it's happening in other places such as Bangladesh, you know, and you hear about them going, we want more Holy Cross schools. So I would love to know and have these tools that I could bring into our campus where I'm being able to be inclusive of all, but not shying away from the gospel. So thank you.
Thanks for that, Claudia. Thank you. All right, we can next go to, I think it's Brother Robert Lavelle. I haven't met you, but I think you are a Holy Cross brother. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Very good.
I've spent most of my ministry in high school, and I've been in high school teaching, administration, primarily administration, and now I have left that position. I serve on our provincial council, and I'm on the board with Michael at Holy Cross College, among some boards of our other schools, and continue to look at that. And I notice as Claudia was speaking that issue of how do you incorporate the non-Catholics, and it's an issue that in the school where I was head of school, we looked at much more the students coming to us are more pluralistic in outlook. So what we address it as is teaching Catholicism, but very open to hearing the faiths of others. We do not proselytize, but we engage people in a conversation about where there are similarities and perhaps where there might be different. But as a Catholic school, we will teach Catholic theology, but that doesn't mean that we're closed to hearing where other people are coming from and helping them to understand, because both sides need to understand one another to have that dialogue. So that in a sense, we are really called to all on the same mission, but we're approaching it differently. But that doesn't mean we're not heading in a direction that we are a school. In other words, it isn't so much that the mission is the church has a mission, and the school has a mission, and it's broader than what the churches might be, because you're looking at all of us are God's children, and we need to understand one another. and we need to have a deeper dialogue with one another so that there's a greater cultural understanding and a greater faith understanding. And not easily arrived at, but the dialogue goes on, and we continue to be resources for one another to help address the most current issues in ways that are meaningful. Anyway, I know you didn't want a homily, but.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate. I think we're already getting to the topic of yeah, a lot of good mission conversation. So that's great. I'm not sure if Alicia or Marcia would like to introduce themselves. You're welcome, but maybe if yes, please. Yep, take the floor.
Yeah. I am here. I'm listening. My son is also in the process of interviewing for some scholarships. So we are sharing the same space.
No
So I just wanted to be mindful of that. But hello, everyone. My name is Alicia Oglesby. I am the Director of School and College Counseling at Bishop McNamara High School in Prince George's County. Yes, Michael's familiar with McNamara. So I'm just excited to be here. I'm really just trying to take it all in and be present and be in the spirit of the moment and learn as much as I can. As Claudia mentioned earlier, I was actually raised as an Episcopal, so so I wasn't necessarily exactly a part of the Catholic Church until joining McNamara, but I'm really excited to be continuing this work with our counseling department as we try and speak to the spirit of students. So thank you for having me.
Thanks, Alicia. Marcia.
Hello. I have to apologize because I'm not good at English. So I will try. I am from Brazil. I am the education coordinator from the 3 schools in Brazil. They are primary, secondary, and high school, the 3 schools. They are in São Paulo, 2 of them, and 1 in Pará, in the Amazon region. I am so excited to stay here with you, and I have to pay a lot of attention to understand all the learning that I can reach in this situation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Praise God that we have 3 continents represented in, wow, just this call. I think Father Moreau would be smiling. Very great. All right. Dr. Griffin, are you ready to start the presentation?
Yeah, I mean, this is a conversation, right? Like this was awesome. Wow, to hear all these voices. And I love what you said. Oops, did you lose me? No, wait. There I am. Okay. Before I start though, I wanted to say 2 things. First, I want to make sure, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to give 2 quick commercials only because they're very fresh based on what a couple people said, and then we'll dive into the topic at hand. One is, in thinking about, because obviously, with ministries at high schools and colleges, one of the things that I think is cool about this conference and this convocation is connecting those. And so a few of you mentioned like having students, whether your own kids or students at your school who are starting the college process. I do want to mention that Holy Cross has a program called Saints and Scholars for high school students. And we're in person, but if you just Google Holy Cross College Saints and Scholars, it's a week-long summer program. They get college credit and they get to study kind of like how theology and faith relates to like a career. It's like theology and business, theology and science, theology and medicine. So that would be great for anybody to be interested in. The other thing that is much more specific to this group, and it's very exciting, and it just happened 2 weeks ago. We finalized it through the generosity of Brother Tom Zekin, the provincial of the Moreau province. And I was wondering, like for like Anne and Claudia, I know, are your schools, are they connected to the Moreau province or the Midwest province or?
Oh my gosh, I'm blanking out. We are the Southwest province.
You
Brother
are now
Robert, that's part of Moreau, right?
Yes, it's part of Moreau province now. It was Southwest,
And
correct.
what about Mountain View, Ann?
Mountain View that's also part of the Moreau province.
Okay, and of course, Bishop McNamara is Moreau. So this actually applies to all of you from your schools. Okay, and then a quick commercial, and then I'll move on. But the reason I mention it now is it could potentially be relevant for your seniors even in this cycle. Okay, the long story short is the Moreau province has made a very, very, very generous repurposing of funds that would allow us, and it's on our topic, to give a full scholarships for both Holy Cross and Notre Dame to students who are from underrepresented groups, students of color, to be part of what we have. And it's one of the ways we have combined academic excellence, intercultural community. We have a program called the Driscoll Scholars, named for Brother John Driscoll. The Driscoll Scholars are students in STEM, particularly like engineering students who want to do STEM or engineering, and they come to Holy Cross College for 2 years with a guaranteed pathway to Notre Dame. And it's basically so that students from underrepresented groups can get that extra attention and mentoring, a little of that Basil Moreau Christian education of small groups and students. You know, like our calculus classes at Holy Cross are 8 or 9 students, we're small, and then they're really ready for Notre Dame College of Engineering. If you have any students in that category, Maureen can put her email and get in touch with me. And even for this year, because we have the money now, it's funded, and it would be a full scholarship. In fact, we have, even before this, a student from Bishop McNamara, Giovanni Saravia, is a student. He'll be going across the street to Notre Dame. I mention that not only because it could be relevant for a particular student you have, but also because it kind of does, to launch into the topic, it kind of shows ways that at Holy Cross we have built pathways to increase academic excellence, but also intercultural community. Now, as Brother Larry knows, and Brother Robert knows, Holy Cross College, I'm going to be talking a lot about the Holy Cross College story. You know, our main work now is we offer bachelor's degrees, and we have a fantastic set of majors and students who are not just doing the Rudy path, you know, in the old movie of someone going to Holy Cross to get to Notre Dame like Rudy. Our main focus is students who come and participate in this tri-campus as a student at Holy Cross College, but taking classes and clubs at Notre Dame. But in order, this is the key of the whole session, I think, in terms of the Holy Cross story. In order for us to bring what Holy Cross College does best, which has traditionally been intercultural community. We've always been a diverse place. We've always been a place that has, it's kind of maybe sometimes I used to say that in the tri-campus, Holy Cross is the one trying to keep it real. We've had the grittiest student body, but in order to participate in this, and this is true of all of our institutions, we have to raise our academic caliber for academic excellence. I've said this, and Father Tyson has said this at the college, you know, if we are going to really live out our vocation, then as a Catholic college, it means that we may not be for everybody. We have to have an academic excellence. Now, one of the things that I'm going to be talking about before, in a second, we'll get into the Holy Cross College story is, one thing that had happened a little bit, I've been at the college 17 years. We did sometimes have this sense that a mission to the margins or a commitment to diversity, we had this sense that that sort of meant that we couldn't achieve academic excellence. But, one thing that I've said a lot is having a mission to students on the margins is not the same as having a mission to marginal students. And that can be a little bit of a conversation starter. And it has been, kind of got some good debates going at the college. But we have found a way to kind of give you, as we go through this story, the end. We have found a way in the last 4 or 5 years to both increase our diversity and our academic excellence at the same time. So my thesis is that is the formula that best reflects, in some ways, the Holy Cross charism and position within the Catholic intellectual tradition. Now, I spent a year also, while I was a seminarian, I spent a year at Andre House, which is basically a house of hospitality for poor folks and immigrants in Phoenix, Arizona. That's not an institution of higher education. And so things like the Catholic intellectual tradition, academic excellence, those are not going to be relevant there. But I strongly believe that one of the areas where the Catholic community, the Catholic Church, can really maintain a real witness is in higher education. And in order to do that, we really have to pursue academic excellence and thus be able to show that one can be committed to being an intercultural community and academically excellent at the same time. And so that's something that Holy Cross has been able to achieve. So I really only want to make 2 points today, and then let's save the rest of the time for conversation. And even if we finish early so we can get ready for the happy hour, that's fine too. So I'm going to tell the Holy Cross College story on these 2 or 3 elements, really: our Catholic identity, our intercultural community, and academic excellence. So I think one of the things that will help is part of what got some attention for Holy Cross College is this year we were contacted by PBS, a series called Behind the Scenes with Lawrence Fishburne. And they came out and did some filming on campus. And we're going to be part of a PBS focus on 6 different colleges in the nation. But one of the things they gave us as a kind of part of what they were, as they left, is they said, here, we put together about a 1 minute, 60-second sort of little montage and summary of Holy Cross College. And so we thought it might be nice if we just watched that, and then we'll move into these 2 topics. So you can go ahead and play that, Maureen.
All right, I want to make sure that the sound will carry with my computer. So Mike, let me know if you don't hear it.
Founded in 1966 and located on 78 beautiful wooded acres, Holy Cross College at Notre
Oh.
Founded in 1966 and located on 78 beautiful wooded acres, Holy Cross College at Notre Dame, Indiana is a Catholic, co-ed, residential institution of higher learning offering a contemporary liberal arts curriculum deeply rooted in intellectual and spiritual tradition. Holy Cross forms students into scholars, citizens, leaders, and disciples prepared to make a difference in our global community. Holy Cross offers students a transformative coming-of-age experience with 4 distinctive enrollment options, each designed and tailored to provide tomorrow's leaders with an excellent education enriched by our Catholic faith. 100% of Holy Cross students complete an internship in their field of study. 100% of Holy Cross students complete an internship in their field of study, and 85% are employed or in graduate school within 6 months of commencement. Experience a tradition of faith and excellence. Learn more today about Holy Cross College at Notre Dame, Indiana.
Great. And by the way, one of the students who was in that video and who will be interviewed on the PBS national program is Giovanni from Bishop McNamara. So that's cool. Now, that's just a little background on Holy Cross. I think the most important thing we can do today is not just talk about the college, but talk about a couple things that we've done that are maybe replicable. So one is, if you take academic excellence, I don't want you to look at this whole thing. The thing I want to point out is that one thing we did is we redesigned our entire core curriculum around academic excellence in 4 areas. So what we took is, what would be 4 formation goals that would summarize a Holy Cross education? We chose scholar, citizen, leader, and disciple. Actually, it'd be very interesting for Brother Robert and Brother Larry to know those 4 terms actually came from a document mid-century, mid-20th century, of the Holy Cross brothers. We had went back, and one of the brothers had written, I think it might have been John Driscoll, had written up a sort of philosophy of education of what the aims were. And it didn't use exactly those, but it used those terms of, it spoke of like kind of the commitment to lifelong learning, hence scholar. Someone who was, it did use citizen, someone who was a leader in their field, and that what the term they used is sort of workers on the edge of innovation, and then disciples is their term. And so we went back to our roots and really made this the backbone of our, so you can even see this is connected to all of our competencies, all of our courses. And that became a way in which we incorporated our Catholic identity into our academic, our academic core, our core curriculum. And so if you think about this phrase, academic excellence, that we're talking about, if it's not just going to be a cliche, I think it has to involve, and for us, it involved both those 2 other parts of the title of this session. One is our Catholicism. So you see in there all of these aspects of formation: scholar, citizen, leader, disciple. Those are brought to bear on academics. And then also the fact that we have had a commitment to intercultural and increasing diversity has to be brought and done in a way that raises our academic excellence. And so that's something that has really been very important to us, is that combination of Catholicism, academic ethos, and intercultural. Now, I want to say one other point, and then I think, when I make the second one, then we'll open up for discussion, but I just want to name this. A number of our students are not Catholic. At Notre Dame, it's about 80% Catholic. Holy Cross is about 70% Catholic. So that's pretty high. But I really appreciate Claudia's comment and Alicia's comment about how do we be an inclusive community as well. And so one of the things that I would say has been a real touchstone here at Holy Cross, as we've thought about this, is the issue of being distinctively Catholic. So being distinctively Catholic and at the same time open to all. So in other words, being both Catholic in that evangelical sense, as you mentioned, Claudia, the joy of the gospel, but then also making sure that we are hospitable. And I think that one of the ways that I think we'll talk about this, and this will be maybe a good, maybe we'll have a vigorous conversation, is I think one of the ways we do that is really by naming and embracing our Catholic identity. I think if we dance around it, it could be something where it ends up feeling like a little bit like it's taboo. So we've chosen to really embrace our Catholic identity. Okay, the second piece, and we've brought that Catholic identity to academics in what we call the core four that you're seeing there: scholar, citizen, leader, disciple, academics. The second piece is intercultural. Now, Maureen in a second is going to read these numbers because again, I can not make out all of those statistics. But I want to point out that painting on the left, Our Lady of Cabejo. One of the things that was really powerful this year, and this was done in the wake of the summer unrest last summer, in the wake of the killing of George Floyd, and the attention that was being brought to racial injustice in the United States. Our director of campus ministry commissioned this work of art, which is Mary surrounded by 6 of the great Black Catholic saints of our tradition. So you have, Martin de Porres, you have Saint Josephine Bakita, one of the Ugandan martyrs, Mother Theodore Lang, and Sister Thea Bowman, who's not formally canonized, but is certainly considered a saintly person. So this now hangs in the most prominent atrium at Holy Cross College, which is really, really great. And we're very proud of it. And it's a commitment and an icon that talks about our intercultural identity. And so that has been borne out in our enrollment as well. So Maureen, do you want to run through some of the highlights of those statistics?
Sure, yes. So Holy Cross College is small but mighty. Our total enrollment is 455 students, and we are 22% Hispanic/Latino. Then we have 6% identify as Black or African American, and then another 5% 2 or more races. Often multiracial falls into that as well, 5% 2 or more races. And then we have our white population is 43%, race and ethnicity unknown 17%. And a statistic that is not on this chart, but that I am really proud of, is that of our traditional non-transfer students at Holy Cross, 27% of our student body is first generation college student, which is also something that Holy Cross is really proud of here. So those are a few statistics about the community.
And one of the things that's interesting when you think about a student body, like that 5%, that's a big number. That is almost entirely undocumented or DACA students. One of the things that Holy Cross College, little tiny Holy Cross, we were among the first colleges in the country, Catholic colleges, to not only accept, but also award scholarships to undocumented students. When we started that, the policy at Notre Dame, which has changed, was that, and this is unbelievable, you see how things change in our church and our world, Notre Dame would not accept a student who is undocumented as of 5 or 6, probably 6 years ago. And so these students were often, our valedictorian in 2012, at a time when Notre Dame would not accept students who were undocumented, our valedictorian, who was one of what we call, he won our Juan Diego Scholarship, which we still have, our St. Juan Diego Scholarship. He was our top student and was on a full scholarship, and again was the valedictorian. He got 1 A- in his 4 years, and it was given to him by a CSC, Brother Larry. Come on. So anyway, so that is a little bit about kind of the diversity. So we are on the cusp, and I don't know if St. Ed's is a Hispanic serving institution. It is?
Yes, we are.
Okay, yeah. We're right on the cusp of that 25%. And again, we have, when you total it all up, it's about 40% are students of color. And so one of the things that has been very important to us is really being carving out a niche where we are seen not simply as a place of diversity, but to bring in those two other pieces, one where we are also academically excellent. So that's why we, and thus it helps us to bring in underrepresented students because they see that they are going to be on a path to rise up in caliber and in opportunities. The other thing I want to mention, and then I'm going to close so we have time to discuss, is those numbers in terms of diversity also are put in the context of our Catholicism. And so this is where I just want to end on a little bit of maybe what could be a challenge to the kind of the contemporary terminologies. I've used the term here because it's so common and so ubiquitous. I've used the term diversity, but truth be told, the term that you'll hear me and others at Holy Cross use more is actually that term that's in the title of intercultural, that we are an intercultural community. And I want to give just a nod to that for a moment, because one of the things that when we talk about Holy Cross as an intercultural community, it gives a nod to something that is absolutely a mark and a charism and a beautiful identity of the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is by definition an intercultural community. To say that it's diverse is almost kind of like boring, like diverse. No, the church in Africa, in East Africa, where Father Prosper is bringing its culture and its tradition to the table, and that is intermingled with Latin American traditions and with European traditions and with North American traditions. And so I think that term is, and again, I'm not, we're probably not going to start a revolution that instead of saying diversity, equity, and inclusion, we talk about intercultural. But I do think there are little maybe seeds of some, I want to say maybe pitfalls is a strong word, but in the world of diversity, equity, inclusion, I do obviously understand why that is so common and that language has emerged. But I don't think it's our home language, because something's going to be missed out by that. And I think what can be missed out by it is a chance for something that's more robust. Certainly it doesn't have the trends behind it, but intercultural really, so, and I'll give you one last example that is related to Holy Cross, but not the college. So my kids are at Holy Cross Grade School, where the pastor there is Father Jim Fenstermacher, who a lot of the brothers would know. And at Holy Cross Grade School, my son Basil is in a Spanish immersion program. It is, his entire curriculum is in Spanish, and he's in 2nd grade. Now, that's not about diversity, although the school now is 1/3 Latino, 1/3 African-American, and 1/3 white. I think sometimes diversity can help white people feel good. Like, well, I'm going to send my kid to a diverse school. No, if you're getting this immersion, your kid's going to learn Spanish. You're going to be on their terms. Half of the rule at these immersion programs is half of the students have to be native Spanish speakers, and the other half are basically there to learn Spanish language, Latino culture, and custom. And so I think that intercultural model is a little bit, I think, maybe worth exploring, because it's more Catholic, it's more robust, and it's a little bit sort of less cookie cutter, because what it says is, because at first when people would hear that the Latino enrollment at the college and at the grade school was rising, and I've been a big champion of that. They've like, oh, okay, are you getting them? I hope you're getting them all the resources to learn English. And I'm like, well, actually, one of my goals, at the college is that we'll teach classes in Spanish, and also at the grade school, I'm trying to get my kid to learn their language. And so it can kind of change the dynamic when you look at an intercultural model. And so, and I think the last point I would make is that on these three, if you want to just go back to that main slide, Maureen, for a second, the first one, these three, Catholic, academically excellent, and intercultural, those three together are ones that I think if we keep them together will benefit our Holy Cross charism. So I'm going to stop there and see if we have any questions and comments and have a conversation.
Great.
Well, one of the things, Mike, is the intercultural is part of the Holy Cross Constitution. There's no one right culture, so we cross borders of every sort. And it's meant to help students prepare that we are intercultural and there's no one right culture, so you need to understand all of them.
I love it. I love it. Yes, that's something I can incorporate more. Yeah, right in the constitutions there. Yeah, exactly.
I think that's great. I've been actually, one of the things that our diversity committee has been looking at is the Constitution, and we're kind of getting, we haven't really started that project, but we also have a new core curriculum at King's that it was implemented this past year, and we went through all the growing pains of shaping that, which I imagine you did too.
Yeah.
It has a section that, and we've used the word intercultural. And so I spent the last couple of years developing an intercultural curriculum for our study abroad programs. And the language department's doing it too. But what's interesting about that is that with the pandemic, we've started applying it to domestic courses. And it's kind of making people freak out a little bit, some people, but it's going to be super interesting to lay that framework on top of like an experiential learning course on our campus.
Yeah.
Film studies course, for example, and they're going to go out and talk to community members, diverse community members, and make films. And but one thing I struggle with, which is interesting, and maybe you have a comment on this, is that intercultural at King's has meant in the past foreign national culture instead of like attitudes, habits, beliefs, and the fact that we all have different cultural groups, plural, to which we belong. So I don't know if you're running across that.
Alicia, I see you nodding your head. Say more about that.
Well, I hesitate a little bit with the crossing borders language because it's going to reinforce that.
Yeah. Alicia, what you were nodding.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely can also share that same sentiment with Margaret regarding kind of this false notion that we all have one American culture. And so like the idea of other cultures means people from places other than America, which, and I've had conversations with McNamara students about this because I'm from Philadelphia, they're from Maryland and DC. And so I say certain words and they're like, what does that mean? And they say certain words and what does that mean? Because it's regional, it's racial, it's religious, it's all of these, it's generational, right? It's all of these things, and I really like the idea of the interconnectedness of culture and thinking about that a little bit more expansively. So, great point.
I love that too, and I think this is where so in some ways, like when you lean hard into like a school's Catholic identity, at first it can seem like you're going to be divisive or it's going to be exclusionary. But the weird thing is, I'm just throwing this out there, sometimes when you lean hard enough, it actually opens up, it actually does more work. So for example, I love what you said, like the Catholic community in the United States, what better community, or what better demographic group right now to say things like, no, the official language of English, the official language of the United States is not English. We don't have an official language. And that we are an intercultural community. So that, you look at the number of Latinos under the age of 50 and, or practicing Catholics, certainly then under the age of 18. And you've got something that's going to challenge to use the common phrase, kind of a paradigm of white privilege. And so I love what you're saying, Alicia and Margaret, because I think that by leaning into that Catholic identity, we are coming from a community that is not American. There's no American Catholic Church. The Catholic Church, and Brother Robert said it, by definition, the Catholic Church by definition has no borders. It is absolutely, it can be deployed as a force against nationalism, against sort of racism, because by definition, it is multiracial, it is intercultural and international. And so that's where I think, like, I just don't want Catholic higher ed. I see it at Notre Dame a little bit where we get a little nervous about the Catholic identity. And I think that's the wrong move. I think we got to lean deeply into it.
I don't want to say too much, but that is fascinating. Do you want to write a book or something? I would love to read it.
Oh yeah, well,
One complaint I've heard is that sometimes the DEI folks and the mission folks can be like working not together. And I think that it's so fascinating to hear you say that, like, there's a lot of power in leaning into the Catholic identity as this source, this work. I think.
Yeah, I want to. Okay, so since I said I want to go just one step deeper on that. This is going to get a little geeky and intellectual, but. All right, so there's this French thinker named René Girard, who's he has died, but he was like a cultural and literary critic. And one of the things that he was afraid of is that modern sort of liberal, in the broad sense, modern liberal tendencies were sort of, they had a kind of parasitical effect on Christianity. In other words, in order to create a kind of humanism and a kind of compassion and empathy, that modern sort of liberal movements are unwittingly sort of drawing on the blood of centuries of Christian culture that incorporates, in his case, like concern for victims out of looking upon the crucified Christ. And so that, in other words, they're sort of, they're drafting off the fumes of this compassion that has come through Christianity, but they don't want the Christianity. And he said that at some point, people are going to start to say, well, all this concern about others, and even, you could say in this sense, the DEI culture, they're going to say, well, what's it based on? Like, where's the depth? When you push down hard enough, what's the bedrock? What is it? And so I feel like that too, that of course, much of my life has been in teaching Catholic social teaching. And, but if I just get concerned if we have it float too free of the core of the Catholic faith. Anyway, that's just one point. We could keep talking, Margaret, and everyone. Other thoughts?
Okay, can I say something? Absolutely. Okay, talking about interculture, especially in Africa, a country like Uganda is a small country, but we have around 52 major ethnic groups, and each of these groups speaks a different language, and each group has different culture. But when we come together in an institution like at Holy Cross Lakeview, it becomes so a blessing how all these cultures meet and people are able to live peacefully, joyfully, and all these cultures will learn from each other. And in the church, we have been talking about inculturation, how our cultures evangelize the gospel, and how can the gospel evangelize our cultures? What are some of the good things that we even see that in our cultures we can bring them on to the creed? And what are some of the things that we need to remove them on? So for us, actually, like in Africa, culture is very strong. Like in ethics, where I say how do you ought to live, one of them would be the dictates of the culture. That culture is so strong. But the school, like let's say, I give an example, being at Holy Cross Lakeview, where we have multiple racial denominations. We have different denominations, but all of us will meet, and then Holy Cross education puts us one. So we have, we embrace the culture and it becomes something beautiful. When I was at the studying theology at the Catholic at the Tanganyika University College in Nairobi, we were 42 nationalities. We even had people as far as from El Salvador. And when we had we used to have one day for which was culture day. So they would even ask each nationality to prepare the food, prepare the dance, and you to move around. You want to see how they prepare the food, let's say in Brazil, in Pakistan, and with something very beautiful that our cultures have so much to teach us and have so much to learn. Another point I would wish to share about is being about our Catholic identity. Now, like in our both Holy Cross schools all the Holy schools we have in East Africa, they are open to all people of all religions. But someone must have a religion. You must have the faith you profess. We cannot admit someone who has no faith. That one is very strict. And everyone who is admitted in our schools, whether on staff or students, we respect them, we love them, we treat them equally as all of us, we are brothers and sisters. But our Catholic identity must remain that we must embrace everyone without compromising our Catholic identity. Now, when you tell people, I am Prosper, I work at Holy Cross Lake View, and it is a Catholic school. There are certain facts that people would expect a Catholic school to be with. Like in Uganda, there is no a Catholic school is very good in discipline. And they know holistic, now like at Holy Cross Lake View, they know we give holistic education. So you hear them referring, no, those are the Catholics at Holy Cross Lake View. But we have students who are Muslims in the Catholic choir, and they do it freely. Right now, it's a month of Ramadan. And I've seen some students who are not even Muslims, they join the Muslim in fasting, it's a free will. And I've seen students who are of the born again, who are Anglicans, they come up, they take reading, they sing in the choir, that you really see this is a Catholic school, the Catholic identity stands out, but we embrace everyone on board without segregation, without undermining and respecting our religion. There's one of our Holy Cross professor, Professor David Barrera. You're so much a love of the Islam, and for them, he's saying, let us celebrate our differences. That's what I say. Let us celebrate our differences, no more than what divides us. So, and I think we celebrate our differences, and we are the children of the same Father. As when you look at like the Nostra Aetate, it talks point 2, 3, and 4. So it brings out good points about how the Catholic Church does not reject anything that is holy, authentic, and good in other religions. That's Nostra Aetate number 2. And many others. So, and all these we embrace them in our school, and it makes me a proud Holy Cross educator. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Father Prosper, I love that. I think that even brings what you said at the end from that Nostra Aetate, which is a beautiful Vatican II document. It leads to that intellectual and academic excellence too. That anything that is true is to be pursued. That can be what unites us. You know, that there's no Catholic way of doing calculus. There's no Catholic way of doing physics. But at a Catholic school, we can elevate that way of pursuing truth in physics, truth in math, truth in science, and we can elevate that towards God. And I love what you said about, you know, we have to embrace that Catholic identity and it's not an impediment to true hospitality. So thanks.
Welcome.
There's the man, Marco Clark, the man of the day.
Mike Griffin, thank you so much. And I'm sorry to interrupt here, but I wanted to say that to that point, the community that I was in at Bishop McNamara for so long, 23 years, about 5 or 6 years ago, we were taking a look at our mission statement, and we engaged the entire community in this whole exercise of reviewing the mission statement and potentially rewriting the mission statement. And one of the questions that we raised was, should the word Catholic appear in the mission statement? And it was a question that we asked as administrators, not because we were running from that, reality, not that we didn't want to remain Catholic, but we also wanted to be respectful to our community and get their feedback on that. And resoundingly, the parent community, and I'll never forget being at this particular Parents Club meeting, let's recognize something. Bishop McNamara High School has 80% of its students are not Catholic. 80% are not Catholic. The parents said resoundingly, no, we need to leave the word Catholic in there because it's the identity that we as non-Catholics identify with. There's a level of not only academic excellence, but there is a level of commitment to social justice, to a life of prayer and to service. And they said, for us, that's a big draw and one of the reasons we send our kids to a Catholic school.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, I know. I remember back in the, and here's another thing to keep in mind on that. Back in the 80s, I remember, I don't know, one of the bishops said, sort of, and he was speaking of kind of the bishops, we don't support Catholic schools in inner cities, for example, because all of the students are Catholic, but because we are Catholic is the bishop, So I really like that. I mean, but one of the things to say, at this moment in history is, unfortunately, Catholic education, this is why, honestly, the story of Bishop McNamara is so beautiful and so kind of rare that Catholic schools is serving really strong intercultural groups of underrepresented peoples have not been flourishing around the nation. So we're at a moment where we have to deepen that. And I think one of the things that maybe it might seem not totally relevant to the question of how do we promote that intercultural community, but I think by keeping that Catholic language, it also is going to not have some in the Catholic Church who maybe don't come at questions of social justice naturally. It doesn't give them an easy way to write us off. I will tell you right now, I know in certain circles that if I were to come out with a statement saying, you know what, here's Holy Cross College, we're gonna have a committee on diversity, equity, inclusion, I would lose certain people right away because of those buzzwords. You say intercultural, people aren't, well, what does that mean? And then you talk, and then, like that. So I'm not saying that you can't offend people, but I'm saying I do think too much of the jargon that's not our own can alienate some people who might have some skin and even a few bucks to put in the game. I don't know what people think about that.
Yeah, I think it was Cardinal Gregory just a couple of weeks ago gave an address in the Arlington diocese, in the Archdiocese of Arlington, and he really said very much the same thing. He said, you know what, and he drew on a reference of the law of physics that said for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction, and he said we have to be careful about how we come at this dialogue because there will be those that differ in their opinion. Who will have that equal and opposite reaction. So, he really promoted a more pastoral approach to having the dialogue around DEI. And, and I think that, we seek to create a sense of belongingness, right? And something that we did end up, as I referred to that mission statement at Bishop McNamara, the word inclusive appears in our mission statement. That speaks volumes, and it means a lot of different things, right? It should speak to a lot of different people. I think we have to be more intentional that way. Certainly some people are afraid of that word inclusive too. We had some folks who said, well, hang on, inclusive in what ways? Inclusive, as a Catholic school, are you inclusive of LGBTQ community? As a Catholic school, are you inclusive of kids, it's a college prep school, are you taking kids that are not going to go to college someday? So it was learning differences, it was gender identity, it was, race, but for us, it was important to put it out there. And that's what, I think if you have a problem with that, then you have a problem with Catholicism.
Yeah. And, I think I want to go back to something Claudia said. I think in the way I think this is really interesting where the discussion has gone about, even about the words we use. Claudia, you said something about Notre Dame that as you were talking about wanting to strike that balance of Catholicism and hospitality. I forget what the phrase was, maybe you could say it, but it was a word that, I mean, just to sort of be transparent for a second, it cued to me, okay, this woman's in on the Catholic mission. I don't know if it was the joy of the gospel or gospel. Well, I mean, it was something you said that I thought, okay, this isn't, you know, but what was that? Do you remember?
Yeah, I said, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I had said, how do we welcome all, but stay true to the joy of the gospel without, and Father was addressing that earlier too, of, you know, you have to stay true. We are, you know, called by Christ, and not being afraid of speaking about Christ to our non-Christians in our community. So yeah, it's staying true to the joy of the gospel.
Yeah, I thought that was great. And and it sort of shows that I just think, I think like Marco, what you guys were saying, it shows that we're all, at least it shows that in trying to meet this moment where we need inclusivity, we need unity, as I think you maybe put in the chat, that we're also going to draw from that treasure trove of our own language as well, and our own practices, because they're powerful. And and maybe as a last moment, I know we're almost at time, but Maureen, you just put in the chat another, speaking of intercultural, another one of your friends from Africa has joined us. You want to introduce him?
Yes, so we have actually had 2 Ugandans who have joined us since the beginning of our intros, both of them dear friends of mine. And the latest here is Brother Adolf Mugume. So you can say a quick word, brother.
Oh yeah, thank you. Brother Adolf, joining in from San Antonio. I see Brother Larry too, Marco. I think I know most of the people on this platform, but I'm happy to join the session. Thank you for the welcome.
The other, and I'm not sure if Emmanuel is available on screen, is calling in from Uganda, but he is a current freshman at St. Edward's University.
Oh yeah.
One of the only Ugandan students to be recently enrolled at St. Ed's. So their African international outreach is growing, and Emmanuel is one of the new additions to the community, although he's remote right now.
Yeah, and Maureen, you've played a role in helping to make that happen, and
during my volunteer work at Lakeview in Uganda, yes, I helped with facilitating his application, but his success is really his own and God's blessing. So
yeah, awesome. And I think maybe that's the last word that we can end on time. You know, back from those days when Marco Clark was my boss, he's going to be so impressed that Griffin can end a class or a discussion on time. You know, I'm sure that was one of many things he had to keep me in line. You know, they didn't go to math class because Griffin said social justice was more important or something. But I will end on time. And I think one of the things is just us all looking at this screen, and it was what Maureen said. I mean, look, this is, and what you've done, putting the conference together, this is Holy Cross. This is, intercultural here, both those, who are serving in schools in the United States, we see the intercultural community, but also those are joining us from South America, Africa, and everywhere in between. So I think this very checkerboard on the Zoom is kind of a testament to what we're striving for, and all brought together by that same Holy Cross mission. So I just want to say thanks to everybody and keep in touch. I mean, it really is such a joy to be part of this Holy Cross mission and ministry, and just seeing the numbers of people who are signed up for this. This is awesome. So thanks to everybody. And Marco, you can be the tour guide. What the next thing? There's a happy hour or something, right?
Yeah, so you know what? We're providing a lot of things here for this conference, but we're not providing drinks. Bring your own drink 15 minutes from now. The 8 Holy Cross colleges and universities have come together to host a little happy hour. They're going to share a little bit about their schools, but more than anything else, it's a networking opportunity. And we're going to release for the first time a map that shows all of the Holy Cross schools, colleges, and universities in the U.S. and as a demonstration of our internationality as well in the 21 countries we're represented in. So hopefully you
That's
can
awesome.
join in 15 minutes.
Yeah. See you guys. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank
Mike.
you.
Great discussion.